So I watched this movie on opening weekend, which is really surprising because I didn't think I was going to watch it at all. I've been seeing the buzz for Obsession for a while. It got some awards at the Toronto Film Festival in 2025, and I've been seeing trailers for it for the past 3 months, which is pretty good for a horror movie. So I'm assuming their press budget was pretty big. With that in mind, I didn't really want to see it because I feel like when a horror movie uses this kind of super intense marketing online with influencer paid promotions, the people who end up going to see the movie are annoying because they're like chronically online internet people and they just want to post about it, which I understand is what I'm doing now. I'm not trying to shade anyone, but it's just not my kind of experience. That being said, I did go see this movie. I was going to see a movie with my friend the weekend it came out, and the only movies that were showing were the Hugh Jackson Sheep Detective movie, which no. Devil Wears Prada 2, which I've seen. Mortal Kombat 2, which I actually saw the first one, and it was bad. No surprise there, so I was going to see the second one. Oh, the Michael Jackson biopic. Oh, I think Is God Is was showing, and I actually would have seen that, but it was just not the vibe with this friend. So yeah, we watched this movie. Against my will. Plot summary now, and if you don't want spoilers, you should stop watching the video, because I'm going to spoil everything. So I hope you enjoyed the story of how I ended up watching the movie, because that's all you're going to get from this video. Okay, here we go. Plot summary. By the way, the plot is super thin, so it's going to feel like I'm not saying the whole thing, but I'm basically saying the whole thing. If you want something better, you should go to Wikipedia. The characters are Bear, Nikki, Ian, and Sarah. Bear has a crush on Nikki, and they go to bar trivia with Ian and Sarah. Bear has gotten Nikki a gift, which is a one-wish willow, and it's like a little children's toy that's a stick, and you make a wish, and then you break the stick, and you hope it comes true. Bear is also hoping to confess his feelings of love for Nikki tonight. So he drives Nikki home, and in the car, it seems like Nikki might be trying to tell him that she actually does reciprocate his feelings, but he's not sure. And he ends up being too awkward to tell her that he loves her. So he goes home and he's like pretty frustrated. And he sees the one wish willow, which he didn't end up giving to Nikki. And he uses it and wishes that Nikki loved him more than anyone else in the world. So that's like the first 15 minutes. And then the rest of the movie is just Nikki being very obsessed with him. Look, title drop, obsessed. And then in the final 30, Nikki kills Sarah. Ian tries to break the spell, but he can't, and the only way he can undo it is if he kills himself. So he does kill himself, and Nikki is free. Also, there is a thing, like a motif. No, it's not a motif. It doesn't represent anything. There's a repeated instance. Bear's cat dies at the start of the movie by accidentally eating a bunch of like oxy pills. And then the way Bear himself at the end of the movie is he takes a bunch of like those pills. So I guess it's a cyclical structure. It doesn't really represent anything, but yeah. Also, I should mention there's a thing of where like Bear initially tries to break the spell by having someone else use a one-wish willow to wish against his wish. And he asks Ian, but Ian ends up wishing for $1 billion. So that doesn't break the spell. Okay, I think that's everything. Okay, now I'm going to talk about what I did like. First thing that I really liked about this movie was the tone. So it's a horror comedy, and it's good at being a horror comedy. The comedy is very peppered throughout. It doesn't just feel like comedy, and then final 30 is like a horror sequence. It's very spread evenly. I would compare it to the Justin Long parts of Barbarian or Ready or Not 2. Also, it's hard to explain, but something I really like about the tone of this movie is that every scary thing that happens is played as a joke. Even the gore and like the jump scares are still part of this larger overall joke of the movie, which I really like. It's kind of weird, but good. It kind of reminded me of those like AI recipe videos where it tells you to mix like sour cream and like chocolate, and like the flavors will pair well together. Like the comedy and horror just like mix well together and they complement each other. So yeah. Another thing I really liked about this movie was the sound design. First of all, the soundtrack was really good. It had a lot of pumping bass synth vibes, which really builds the tension in those scarier scenes. So good job on that. I also think this movie had weird audio mixing. It felt super loud, which could have been my theater that I was in, but I don't think it was. I think the audio mixing is just like weird. Like every scream was super, super loud and like just sent goosebumps down my arm, which I guess is a good thing because it's a horror movie. So yeah, I guess I like the audio mixing. Okay, next thing. I thought the cinematography and aesthetics were good. Very claustrophobic vibes, kind of suburban horror, very cozy horror ambiance overall. There were some pretty cool shots. There was good gore, but still restrained. Classy. Classy gore. And they also had this repeated shot of a very shallow camera depth, so super blurry background. And in the blurry background, you could see Nikki was like staring directly at the camera, and it was so creepy and super well done. And they repeated it like a good amount of times where it was like very established as like a repeated thing we're doing. But it wasn't overused. So I thought that was really good. So good job, DP. Finally, the last thing I really like about this movie is Indy Navarrete, who is the actress who plays Nikki. She is good at acting, and she took the writing of this character, which could definitely be delivered in kind of a basic crazy woman kind of way, and instead delivered her lines in like not the most obvious way. My favorite example of this, and my actual favorite part of the whole movie, is the delivery of the line. I'm not even going to try to replicate it, but look it up. The delivery of the line, and she's holding a gun for this scene, by the way, and she's acting really crazy. And she says, "Do you want me to claw my eyes out or shove the barrel up my bitch?" And the bitch is like, "Bitch, bitch, bitch." It's like, bitch. It's very good. Okay, now, what did I not like about it? And there is a lot. Okay, first of all, this movie is made for TikTok. All of the scenes are split into like clippable moments, and it's very obvious that the directors wanted it to go viral on TikTok, which is okay, I guess. Like, I understand that every horror movie to a certain extent relies on shock value and shareability, like even going back to like the formation of the genre, but it just feels so transparent here, and it's kind of cringy, like the fact that you're making something to be shared on social media. Also, it makes for a pretty lousy viewing experience. The structure of the movie is like boring expository dialogue that you need to drive the plot forward, and then super clippable scene, and then another boring expository dialogue scene, and then clippable scene. And it makes you just bored as an audience member, and it makes you just wait for the next scene that's going to be exciting, and it feels like you have to sit through these boring scenes, which is just kind of awful. It makes me feel like I have no attention span anymore, but it's their fault because they're the ones doing it, so yeah. Another thing I did not like, plot holes. This movie has plot holes. Well, not really plot holes, it's just like the plot is stretched so thin that you can just practically see through it. And by that I mean it is very unbelievable. And not unbelievable in the way that a wish stick is unbelievable, but unbelievable in the way that the characters do not act like humans. One example of this is that Bear realizes that the wish stick is bad, and he only goes back to the store where he bought it in the final 15 minutes of the movie. If that were me, I would have gone back immediately. Why did he wait so long? And as an audience member, like, everybody was thinking that as well. Like, it took him so long. He was just waffling around for most of the runtime of the movie. He needs to get his act together. The other weird plot thing is that when he is trying to break the curse, he gets another wish stick, and he's going to have Ian make the wish that the spell is broken, but instead Ian wishes for $1 billion. And then he gives up. Bear just goes home and is like, he himself. And really? He wasn't going to try a little harder? Ask one more person? It's like, does he not know anybody else who can make a wish? Like, parents, friends, siblings. Like, a cousin would work. I don't know. Like, just a person on the street you pay to say, I wish to break the spell on Nikki. Like, it would be so easy. And he just gives up. I don't know. I thought that was crazy. Oh, the other thing is, he keeps going back to the house, his house, that Nikki is living in. And, like, he knows Nikki is crazy. And, like, she keeps threatening him with, like, knives. And he just, like, keeps going back to interact with her. It's, like, crazy. Okay, next thing. The girlfriend has no character. Yeah, so Nikki is under the spell for most of the movie. And I think the writers realized that she needs to have some sort of character established before she goes under the spell. So they did write this little scene where they're leaving the bar trivia before Nikki is under the spell. And Nikki asks Sarah for a 20, and then she gives it to an unhoused person outside of the bar. And, like, who does that? Like, giving money to unhoused people, it's like, great, you should, like, totally do that. But who asks their friend to give them money and then gives it to like, that's so weird, right? I don't know. Am I just prejudiced? I don't know. That felt weird. Also, then Nikki, like, starts to try to talk to this unhoused person and, like, have a conversation. And I get that the writers are trying to portray her as, like, kind-hearted and generous, but it just comes off as her being one of those people who does charity and then expects the people she's done charity for to, like, profusely thank her and verbally show gratitude, which kind of does the opposite of what the writers want because it makes her seem conceited. That was bad. Also, it plays into that trope of the only characteristic of a woman being that she is nice. And that's bad. In the Big 2-6, we can be writing better female characters than that. Also, if I were a writer, I would just write in, like, a 3-minute scene where Nikki talks to Sarah about the book she's writing. It's not like the movie was struggling with runtime. Like, it was 90 minutes. It's basically a short film in the modern movie world. They could have added one more scene. It wouldn't have hurt them. Okay, so the final thing that I want to talk about is the theme and message. Or rather, the lack thereof, because this movie does not have a cohesive theme or message. So, obviously, it's about men controlling women and the male gaze, and I also feel like male loneliness epidemic. Oh my god, buzzword. And, like, it is about those things, but it really does not say much about them. Also, it's really clumsy how it's set up to explore those themes, because the spell that Bear puts on Nikki is unintentional. And it's not just unintentional, there is no way he could have known that it would work. He obviously doesn't think it's actually going to do anything, and that just weakens the thesis, because it's not really his fault. And to give the movie credit, there are like 20 minutes where he does figure out that what he's doing is morally wrong, and then he still doesn't really try to break the spell. He just tries to adjust the spell so it's less severe. And that's good because it shows him as, like, a morally reprehensible character and actually says something that could be interpreted as a thesis about men controlling women. But it's only 20 minutes. Like most of the runtime, he just has no idea what's going on or is clueless. And I guess you could say that the writers are trying to show that he does know that what he's doing is wrong. It's just buried so deep that even he doesn't know. But that's not good because the audience needs to know. Otherwise, the message doesn't work. Also, it might be saying that even unintentional misogyny is wrong, which is true, obviously. But that doesn't really work either because in the real world, men should educate themselves about unintentional misogyny. But in this movie, the unintentional misogyny is magic. So how does that translate to a real world scenario? And honestly, comparing unintentional misogyny to The One Wish Willow is even worse than just having no message because it basically says that it's impossible for men to tell when they're being unintentionally misogynistic. And that's wrong, and that is a bad message. So I guess for those reasons, I think that the message is very messy. But also, to the movie's credit, it is like not a piece of art, and it wasn't trying to be a piece of art. Like, the marketing definitely communicates that this movie is popcorn shock horror. So me interpreting it in an artful way is not really fair, even though I want it to be. So yeah, that was my review of Obsession. You can watch it if you want. I probably wouldn't, but if you want to be in the discourse, then I guess you should. It's very middle of the road. I think there will probably be a sequel since I'm assuming it did pretty well at the box office. I don't know, my theater was pretty full. I mean, I don't regret seeing it because I didn't pay for the ticket, my friend paid for it. But if I had spent money, I would probably be not happy, but not disappointed. I don't know. Oh my god, look what I found. I wish this movie was 25% better. Ow, I think I got a splinter.